Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to put your clarinet together, where to put the fingers, and proper hand position when holding your instrument. So let's get started. Before we talk about putting the clarinet pieces together, let's look at what the clarinet looks like inside the case. We've already learned how to put together the barrel and the mouthpiece with the ligature and the reed. We've already put those together. Now the other parts, we've talked about what they are. This one is the bell because it looks like a bell. Then we have an upper joint and a lower joint. The lower joint is going to be the one that has cork on one side and metal on the other side. The upper joint has cork on both sides. There's cork here and cork here. Whenever you're putting the clarinet back in the case, it's really important that you put it in correctly. You can see that there are kind of indentions in the case where the parts go. So those keys right there have a very specific spot that they're going to go. And if I tried to put it in backwards, it just wouldn't fit correctly. These keys would be kind of hanging out the side. And if I tried to close the case, it wouldn't close without force. And if you use force, then you're going to end up damaging your instrument. So make sure that each piece always goes back in its correct spot. And that one's got a little indentation for all of its little extra keys. Not only is it going in its correct spot, but is it going the right direction? If I try to put the lower joint like this, it just doesn't fit. The keys are running into the bell, and if I tried to close the case, it wouldn't close without force. So make sure when you're putting your instrument back away that all the pieces are in the right place, they're facing the right direction so that we don't do any damage to our instrument. Now that we've looked at what the instrument looks like inside the case, let's start putting it together. I do want to preface this by saying that I already have this part of my clarinet put together. That's the barrel, the mouthpiece, the ligature, and the reed. And if you don't remember how to do that, see my previous video on how to put those items together. We're going to talk about the rest of the clarinet. We're going to start at the bottom of the instrument. So I'd like for you to reach into your case and pull out your bell. It's called a bell because it kind of looks like a bell. Ding dong, ding dong. And also, I want you to pull out your lower joint. Remember, we can tell the difference between upper and lower joint because the lower joint has cork on one side and silver metal on the other side. You're also going to need your cork grease. My cork grease looks like this. Yours might look different, but make sure it says cork grease on it before you use it. Mine looks like chapstick, but make sure that you don't ever put it on your lips because it doesn't taste very good. We're going to grease the cork first, so you'll take the top off of your cork grease. Put it in a safe place so you don't lose it. Turn the bottom so that a little bit of the grease comes up over the top. And then you're going to just rub it on the cork like you would your lips. And you're going to notice it's kind of clumpy, so then you're going to use your fingers to rub it in and smooth it out. The goal is for the cork to be slippery and not sticky. If the cork is sticky, then the pieces could stick together when you try to put them together, and it could end up tearing the cork, which is not good. The grease that ends up on your hands, you want to wipe it into a rag or a napkin, or sometimes I just rub it into my skin. Don't ever rub it on your clothes because it actually will stain your clothing, and then Mama's going to be mad. So we've got our lower joint, the cork on the bottom, the metal ring on the top. And when I grab the lower joint, just be careful that you don't squeeze these silver metal rods. You can touch the keys, you're not going to do any damage, but make sure that you're not like Hulk smash squeezing the rods as you hold. So I hold mine like this, so I'm not actually squeezing any rods. I am touching the key though, and that's okay. Then you take the bell and you line it up on the cork side, twist, and push. Yours might not go on as easy as mine because your cork is probably newer than mine. So you might need to use a little bit of muscles to get it on there. Twist and push until there's no space left between the black and the silver. So now we have our bell and our lower joint are put together. Now we're going to reach into our case And we're going to grab our upper joint, which is the side that has cork, or excuse me, the piece that has cork on both sides. The upper joint is the one that you have to be very, very careful when you're putting your instrument together, or you might break it before you ever get to play it. Now, first thing I want you to notice is these keys right here. I call them stair-step keys because they look like stairs. Some people call them jelly beans because they look like jelly beans when you look at them straight on. But regardless, you have to be careful so that you don't break them when you're putting your instrument together. Also underneath this lever right here, it's called our bridge key, and it moves up and down. The bridge key goes between the upper joint and the lower joint once we put those two pieces together. We have to raise the bridge key to put the pieces together. Here's how you raise it. First, I want you to look right here. Do you see this hole right here that has no metal around it? I call that the naked circle. And with my left hand, ring finger, I just cover the naked circle just like that. And then the circle that's right above it, that's the magic circle. That's the one that raises the bridge so that you can put your pieces together without breaking them. So with my middle finger of my left hand, I cover the magic circle. And then my pointer finger, I cover the one right above that. So I'm covering all of the circles in the front. You have to make sure the bridge is raised before you try to put your pieces together. Before we put the pieces together, we do have cork here that we need to grease with our cork grease. So grab your cork grease, twist the bottom so that a little bit comes above the top, and then rub it on the cork. Now you're not going to be able to get under the bridge key with the tube of cork grease, so you're going to need to use your fingers to kind of rub it in and get under that bridge key. Make sure all of the cork is nice and slippery when you're done. If it's sticky, then you need to add more cork grease. My cork is not as new as yours, so I don't have to use as much. But if you're rubbing your cork and it still feels dry or sticky, then you need to add more cork grease. Now go ahead and grab with your right hand, down at the bottom on the bell, grab the lower joint and bell, and you're going to line those pieces up. Before you start pushing or twisting, make sure that all 6 circles in the front are lined up all the way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure they're lined up. And then you want to make sure you're pressing the magic circle, which raises the bridge key. And then you're going to slightly twist back and forth, twist and push until the lower joint and upper joint are all the way together. There's no space between the metal and the black here. And I'm still pressing my magic circle. I haven't taken my finger off yet. Make sure that the keys are still lined up. The holes in the front are still lined up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then go ahead and release your finger, and it's going to lower the bridge key. When you lower the bridge key, it sits on top of another key that is on the lower joint. If you don't raise the bridge when you put those pieces together, you're going to bend or break your bridge key, and then your clarinet has to go to the shop. So do it correctly. Also, when you're putting those pieces together, I did mention that your twist have to be small back and forth. Back and forth, small twist. If you do big twist, look what happens. The stair-step keys run into the other metal keys here, and you start bending things. So don't twist all the way around, just small twist back and forth. Line up the circles in the front, release the bridge key, and you're done. So we have bell, lower joint, upper joint. Next thing you want to do is grease the cork here, and then grab the mouthpiece and the barrel and add those to it. It can only go one way. If you try to do it this way, you're going to break your reed. So you're going to line it up. Make sure that the reed lines up with the circle in the back. That's where your thumb goes. So the reed lines up with the one circle and the teardrop key in the back. You're going to twist and push, small twist back and forth. Notice I'm not twisting all the way around, just back and forth to where there's no space between the black and the silver. Do one last check. Make sure your reed is lined up with your thumb key and your thumb rest. Turn it around to the front. Our holes in the front are all lined up. And now we have our entire instrument put together. We have our bell, our lower joint, upper joint, barrel, mouthpiece, ligature, and reed. Now that we have the instrument put together, we need to talk about where the fingers go. With all woodwind instruments, our left hand is always on top and our right hand is on the bottom. And we have done our finger exercises in the past where we start with left hand, pointer finger is 1, middle finger is 2, ring finger is 3, and then we have our right hand, pointer finger is 4, middle finger is 5, ring finger is 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's important that you know what fingers are what numbers so that when I'm talking about where to put your first finger and your second finger, you know which finger I'm talking about. So we're going to start with our left hand, which goes on the top of the clarinet, and we're going to start with our thumb. I want you to go to the back side of the clarinet. Remember, the back side of the clarinet is where the thumb rest is, but there's also this open circle right here, and your left hand thumb is going to go on that circle. You're just going to cover the circle, put your thumb kind of at an angle. I call that a 1 o'clock thumb because it's kind of pointing towards 1 o'clock. And then come around to the front. Now, around the front we have 3 holes, 3 circles that need to be covered with our fingers. When we were putting the instrument together just a moment ago, we talked about the naked circle and the magic circle. But then there's another circle right above it. Your pointer finger, finger 1, is going to cover that top circle, just like this. And then your middle finger, finger 2, is going to cover the magic circle. And your ring finger, finger 3, is going to cover the naked circle. So we have thumb 1, 2, 3. And your hand really needs to be in the shape of a letter C so that it's going around the instrument and it's not accidentally touching this key that's on the side. So I put my thumb on the circle, and then I make a letter C and cover 1, 2, and 3. Now my pinky later will be responsible for pressing these keys here, but don't touch them now. Just make sure that your pinky stays above the instrument and is never below the instrument like this. We always want the pinky above the instrument. Moving on to our right hand, which is on the bottom of the clarinet. On the back side of the lower joint is our thumb rest. Your right hand thumb goes under the thumb rest, not on top, underneath. And it's going to need to rest on the side of your fingernail, where your fingernail starts. And it is a bit uncomfortable at first, but you'll either get used to it or you can get like a little pencil squishy and put it over there so it's not as uncomfortable. But I should never see your thumb pushed all the way over like this, where the fingernail is way over here, because it's too uncomfortable to have it in the right place. The side of the fingernail, or the side of the thumb where the fingernail starts, needs to be under the thumb rest. And then the rest of the fingers, we have 3 more holes on the lower joint. The first hole is going to be covered by finger 4, which is our pointer finger. The middle finger is going to cover the second hole, finger 5. And then the bottom circle is going to be covered by finger 6, or your ring finger. And this hand should also be in the shape of a C, with the thumb under the thumb rest, and then the rest of the hand curved around the instrument. Your fingers should never touch any of this metal. It should go around it. And then our fingers look like this. Our right hand pinky is going to be responsible for these 4 keys but not yet. So just like the other pinky, just make sure it stays on top of the instrument and it never goes down below like this. That's bad hand position. Get that pinky up top, get those fingers curved and relaxed, and those holes covered. That's the most important part when you first begin trying to play your clarinet. If your fingers aren't curved and relaxed and covering those holes, then your sound isn't going to be right and it's going to be frustrating for you. So get those C's in both hands, fingers curved and relaxed, and covering those holes. Now that we've got our fingers in the right place, we can do our finger exercises on our clarinet, starting with I'm going to put it on my shoulder, but you should really put it on your knee so that you have something helping support the instrument. I'm going to put it, kind of lay it on my shoulder so that you can see it in the video. So then we've got our finger exercises. We're going to start with no fingers down. And then as you say the number, you're going to press the finger down and cover the circle. So let's start at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then pick the fingers up again and start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pick them all up again, start over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And if you need to look at it so that you can watch your fingers cover the holes, that's okay for now. You can't look at your fingers when you actually play, but right now for finger exercises you can. So pick up all your fingers again, press them down as you say the number. 1, 2, 3, watch your fingers cover the hole. 4, 5, 6. And your fingers are going to need to be spread apart. They should never be touching. This is too close together. They should always be spread apart, whether you're covering the circle or not. The fingers should always be spread apart. Same thing with this hand. Fingers open. Don't ever pick up your fingers and do this. I call this shrimp fingers. We don't turn our fingers into shrimp when we're playing our clarinet. They need to stay spread out and ready to cover the circles even when they're not being pressed down yet. Let's do those finger exercises again. Watch your fingers cover those holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now you know how to hold the clarinet, where to put your fingers, and you have some finger exercises to help you get really comfortable with holding the instrument and covering the holes. The next step is going to be to put the clarinet in our mouth, form our correct embouchure, and then play our first note.